So the federal government is promising a green revolution. And the Supreme Court in the same city of Ottawa has spent 2 days listening to arguments against the carbon tax. So what does it mean for you? I don't know, but we're going to ask Jasmine Moulton from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation to explain it all to me. First of all, your organization was in Ottawa fighting this case.
Absolutely. Why? We were the only non-government intervener involved in the Supreme Court case, and we're fighting this on constitutional grounds at the Supreme Court level. But in real policy terms, the issue is that this carbon tax, it doesn't reduce emissions, and it's just expensive. It puts a burden on taxpayers.
But everybody's been taught for the last 2 generations in all our schools, you got to have a carbon tax to make this thing green, get rid of all the pollution.
Well,
what do you say to that?
Let's look at British Columbia. In BC, they've had a carbon tax since 2008, before the feds introduced it, right. And their carbon taxes have increased by 7% in the 10 years that they first introduced it.
Really?
Substantially. And then if you look at Ontario, from 2005 until 2018, when we didn't have a carbon tax, our emissions were reduced by 19%.
Well, you're not going to argue that the carbon tax increases emissions. Or is that the fact that it just happened to be that way?
Well, I think that the reality is that when emissions are going up, a carbon tax isn't stopping them. And it's the federal government who has imposed this. The purpose of the carbon tax is to stop emissions from going up. That's not happening.
Do you think, from the perspective of the globe, that if Canada exported more natural gas, for instance, to those countries which are digging up coal to make electricity, we would reduce the global impact of carbon emissions?
Absolutely. And I think it's important to ask, how can Canada make the best contribution to fight global climate change? The carbon tax does nothing. Even if the carbon tax was 1,000,000 times more expensive than it currently is, and if our emissions were zero today, China would eat up that progress in a short matter of time. So if we can help the biggest emitters in the world, like China and India, through things like helping them with our natural gas, a cleaner form of energy than coal, then that would do a lot more to help fight global climate change than the carbon tax.
And there are a lot of people in Saskatchewan and Alberta and BC who would love that. They might even vote Liberal. I'm not going to ask you about the politics, but they would vote Liberal if they were allowed to export natural gas across the Pacific.
That would not only help Canada's economy recover, and we all know what terrible shape it's in right now. It just fell off a fiscal cliff. Yeah. But that would help everybody in the country. Why should people in Ontario? I grew up in southwestern Ontario. They don't have the option to take public transit. Right. So the carbon tax is hurting them. It's not discretionary spending. This is their groceries. This is driving their kids to soccer after school. The carbon tax hurts taxpayers, and it doesn't reduce emissions.
Taxpayers are already burdened enough. Jasmine, thanks very much.
Thank you.
3 minutes. Thanks for watching. Parliament's coming back. A lot of big public issues coming up, and we're going to be covering them all here. So please subscribe to the show. There's a button right up here on your screen.